of people that do the jobs every day and can recommend how we can better reach people because they're looking for certain skills and how to better make job descriptions more available, et cetera. And so by leveraging our actual membership, the people that are getting that most benefit, we hope, from that value proposition, we can therefore then find more people that can see themselves doing those jobs as well. And so again, like by having a good board of directors and planning strategically with them throughout your campaigns and throughout your funding, whatever it may be, or events that you throw and partnerships with other associations, by having them be empowered, we are therefore, I think, empowered as well. And so we at AVIXA, at least, we want to be that hub. So we do whatever we can, whether it's trade shows throughout the world, because I should mention we are truly an international organization. So we also kind of have a unique wrinkle to maybe what others in the United States do, in the sense that we have 11 trade shows all over the world yearly. So we have to host the minds and the diversity of minds all over the world in our industry, because we're a very, very large industry. So we have to maintain being that hub by bringing them all together at these different events, having DACOMs to better do curriculum in ways that are more formatted to asynchronous learning, and you can name it just down the board, I'm sure.
I love that. I'm thinking a lot about what you said. The fact that you have this global perspective, are you seeing, we haven't really spoken about, we've been very US centric in our discussion today. We haven't spoken about any skills gaps and Bob would appreciate culture gaps that are existing in some of these other countries too. Is that something that you're seeing, just quickly before we move on from that subject, is that something you're seeing worldwide? Is that something that is more US centric?
I definitely see it. We see it worldwide, Kiki, because number one, I think in particular for our industry, what we're facing mostly is a commoditization happening in the technology and in the services provided with audiovisual stuff. So the need there is to find people, because they're trading employees, essentially. They're stealing from each other worldwide. Mm-hmm. Where we see it outside of the United States is the issue is partnering with governments, because they may be more in charge of things based on their culture that they have, based on what how the government sees itself involved in people's lives. Trade associations in this case may be different in the different parts of the globe and mean different things to people. And so I think we've had to face that challenge, is going around the world and trying to have that value proposition mean a lot to different cultures too.
Yeah. Thank you so much for addressing that, because it's something that, I realize a lot of times Association Chat is very focused on US centric issues. And, but I see this as something that I hear discussed on a global scale, but I definitely am very focused on the US most of the time. So I wanted to see what you thought about that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, please.
An example for viewers and listeners would be, we have a massive trade show coming up in Amsterdam in February called Integrated Systems Europe. And that's like 75,000 participants from all over Europe, wow. Asia. They come from everywhere. So what we have to do there is we bring people together under the banner and with our partner organizations that host that, and listen to them and ask them, what are your knowledge gaps? What are your culture gaps? And part of it is, we found the success recently is partnering with their governments, their guilds, however they host training and apprenticeships in those countries, and actually give them curriculum, or work with our foundation to provide resources for them and actually partner with their schools. And so physically building programs from the ground up has seen some recent success for us.
Wow. Thank you so much. Patrick, when we were talking about looking toward the future and where the industry is headed, you had made reference earlier to the fact that there is, a serious consideration going into automated piloting and things like that. And so as your organization is looking at, maybe innovative ways of leading people in the future and dealing with the skills that need to be created, are you starting to, do you have some things that you're developing now, or have you developed some things that are, more directly addressing some of those issues? And if so, what are those?
So I can't really speak yet to the suite of benefits related to that, but I can talk a little in more general terms I think one of the things there were two words that kind of stuck out from that conversation that you were just having. Diversity and inclusion, and this concept of empowerment. And those are two terms that we find are hugely important to the next marketplace. People want to come into a workforce and make an immediate impact. And you cannot do that in an old structure where decisions come from the top. We've learned here recently that empowering younger professionals in the decision-making process helps with both innovation in creating new ideas and with retention of those employees, because as they gain their skills and they are empowered to make decisions, they're more likely to stay in. So a lot of it's not just about those hard skills, about the technology training, but it's also about bringing in some of those softer skills about how do you communicate with people, how do you interact with people, how do ideas flow from the lower ranks to the top and back down.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. You know, this is actually this conversation, a lot of times the chats that we have on here, the conversations stick with me for a while, but I think this one is definitely one that I'm going to be mulling over for some time. I mean, I'm going back to thinking about like Bob's granddaughter and like, well, but is she an outlier? And is it more of a situation where, what about the kids today? Are they learning to learn? You know, if we have to be adaptable and being able to drive ourselves to learn new things all the time, are they going to feel that? And how do we know? And so I have so many questions. What I want to do is move us into talking about looking forward. So all of you guys are always thinking about ways that you're going to make progress. And, Heather, I want to talk to you about the future for Q Career. So there's work that you're doing right now. There's work that you're moving toward. Can you talk to me a little bit about where you are now and what you see is happening in the future for Q Career?
Sure. So we're onboarding associations now, both professional and trade associations, and we're marketing that information to high school and college students. But moving forward, again, we really see it as a lifelong learning platform and marketing it to adults, because adults are all going to have to pivot at some point in their careers because of automation. And I think the other nice thing too about, something that Bob said is that always learning mentality. And he's taking a class right now for, cryptocurrency, right? I mean, I think too, sometimes the associations could be very siloed, and adding certificates from other associations can also advance your career. For example, if I was an architect and I graduated architect school and I wanted to stand out from my other architects, maybe I'd go to one of the solar associations and take a photovoltaic class, right? So then I'm also marketing myself to my future clients as, yes, I'm this great architect, but I also know this, about solar, which, a lot of clients would be interested in too. So I really see associations too could collaborate together and cross-pollinate with some certificates for them that would make sense, for adults who are going to, because we're all going to be, in January of this year, in January 2017, The Economist dedicated their whole issue to lifelong learning, and that adults are always going to have to be learning. And again, I think it's a tougher pill for a lot of people to swallow, but it's going to be a fact of life. So where do they go to learn? Not everyone's a coder. You're not going to go to, General Assembly or Galvanize and learn to code if that's not where your mentality is, right? So it's going to be looking for those courses that make sense for yourself.
I'm just curious, what are each one of you working on developing a skill or learning something or taking a class right now? I'd be curious to find out from each one of you. Okay, so you're already nodding your head. So
Yeah.
You have to answer, Joseph. Okay, so what are you taking right now? What are you learning?
Well, I'm actually gaining a graduate certificate in nonprofit management. So my school,
Okay.
my company is very, very beneficial there as far as handing out those opportunities to us. So I'm taking a class right now on social entrepreneurship. And so what that means to have a nonprofit or for-profit company with social impact. And so I'm trying to bring that back to the table here at AVIXA too.
I love it. Okay. What about you, Patrick?
So I'm working to finish my CAE, certified.
Oh, yes.
Executive.
Yes.
Because I mean, I have the formal training. I hold an MBA. I hold a master's degree in addition to that. So kind of bringing credentialing to my resume as well.
Heather, what about you?
You know, I'm always thinking about coding, but I'm going to start with WordPress. So I just went to this like WordPress camp, and now there's an organization at San Francisco called Girls in Tech. And I'm going to be taking like a WordPress, 6-week long course with them.
All right. I just toggled my mic. Yeah. Oh, that's like, what about you, Kiki? I am always taking something new. And so I was going to try to take Python and to learn Python. And I started down that path and I'm like, nope, not right now. So no, what I'm going through and doing right now is, I'm actually, believe it or not, even though I get hired to do this and I stay on top of it, I'm actually going through and taking a course through Coursera on it's a social media certification, just to make sure that I have I'm just up to speed on everything that is happening. It's really more the business of it that I'm interested in rather than the how to do on the channels, because like that piece I play with all the time, but it's the business part of it that I'm more interested in. Bob says he's working with interactive real-time coding technology that allow us to hang out around code in real time. Cloud9. Oh my gosh, I need to learn so much more. And the cryptocurrency thing is something that is weighing heavily on my mind. Blockchain is huge and I need to understand it. And so I do feel like I need to go and get up to speed on that as quickly as possible. When I start having conversations about it at the bus stop, when I'm dropping my daughter off in the morning, that's a sign. Like I need to actually get up to speed on what's happening. Oh, and Bob says he has an article on it. I love it. Thank you, Bob. Bob, you are such a resource. So what are 3 immediate takeaways? We've talked about a lot today, guys, and thank you so much for being here. But I want to offer everybody some takeaways that our panel today can give to all of you who are watching so that you can start using them tomorrow to make a real difference in the way you address your skills gap or maybe culture gaps for your industries. And just shoot if you have any to offer.
Well, I'll start with my 3. Kind of circling back where we began our conversation on how we involve younger folks. I think exposure is key. Getting folks excited early, whether that's high school or college or in a job transition, about prospects in an industry that they may not be aware of. And so getting your opportunities in front of people that might not have otherwise seen them. The second one, back to our earlier conversation, is involving young professionals in decision-making. Understanding their need to feel like they're contributing to the overall mission of the organization. And that weighs in a little bit there on the culture gap a little bit. I think generationally, there's an expectation that you're going to come into a new position and contribute right away. You're not looking to pay your dues, so to speak. And then the third and final thing I'll say on that is to understand what their reward system is. We find as we talk to our member companies that salaries aren't where they need to be in order to attract the best candidates. And so don't underestimate compensation structures that people are looking for. People will move towards jobs if they feel like they're fair.
All right. Thank you so much. And Joseph or Heather? Yeah.
We always have great things to say from the AV profession.